Welcome to Dave's Workshop and Garden Railway. Please share this video so others will know the joy of live diesel. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. These are the photos showing how I built the live diesel mechanical locomotive. I based the Loco on Dave Watkins's detritus locomotive plans, and scaled the dimensions up to 1 inch or 1/12 scale. A few years earlier I bought a new, old stock, pull-start, 4-stroke OS-26 nitro engine designed for model radio-controlled cars. Initially I built the chassis with the characteristic long coupling rods from the rear jack shaft to the front axle. The setup used a worm and wheel and 2 pinions to provide a 2-stage reduction. This was used to determine the speed of the Loco and was erroneously based on the engine idling at 2,500 rpm, when in fact it idles at 5,000. The Loco runs at engine idle speed. Nearly all the gears were cut by myself, using homemade gear cutters, link to procedure in the video description. The gears are mild steel. The reduction gears are 3/8 inch and idlers are 1/4 inch thick. The tooth form is metric mod 1. When it comes to imperial and metric, I swing both ways, big smile. The big reduction gears are 36 tooth, having an outside diameter of 38 mm, or 1.5 inches. All 4 were cut together, Loctited to the mandrel. The gears were cut in 2 passes, the first to 90 thou and then a finishing cut. The cuts were very slow, at about 300 rpm. Many minutes were happily spent slowly turning the lathe cross-slide handle, and then indexing the dividing head. As the gear blank is indexed round, the cutter trims the flank on the previous tooth. The 436 tooth gears took about 3 nights to cut at home. Each gear took about an hour to deburr. This system makes gears that are quite good enough. The Loco chassis went through 2 phases. The first with worm gearing and the final with all spur gearing. The final version had the long and high, jackshaft coupling rod replaced with a shorter version on the same level as the axles. The first version had a different method of springing and only on the rear axle. The final version has sprung axle boxes in horns. If you look at the live diesel playlist, link in description, you can see the evolution of the Loco. The first exhaust on the engine was a straight-through pipe, and very loud. I did a bit of research and came up with a squat circular muffler with a baffle in the middle with lots of holes around its periphery. The engine exhaust hit the baffle straight on. The cross drillings in the inlet and outlet pieces are meant to disrupt the sound waves. This muffler was very effective, but hung out the side of the Loco so was only temporary. The final muffler is a huge simple expansion chamber integral with the firewall. A drain is provided so the excess oil is drained onto the ballast of the railway. The engine runs on a 18% castor oil mix, and is run rich to keep it cool, and for smoke effects, so there is plenty of oil to drain. Because the exhaust gases are expanded so much, the muffler runs quite cool. The first version of the chassis has 2 homemade universal couplings, to transmit power from the engine to the worm wheel. In the very first video of the first engine start you can see a universal coupling burst, as I rev the engine. This was fixed by placing copper collars over them. The first version had no clutch, so had to be started on chocks, then lowered onto the rails. The final version has a coned steel clutch integral with the flywheel, a successful arrangement, and one of my favorites. The gearbox side slowly engages with the flywheel via a lever in the cab. The Loco has a 3-speed transmission in forwards and reverse. Reversing is accomplished with bevel gears, the only gears I didn't make. The first 3 stages of the reduction gearbox are enclosed and sealed and contains motor oil for lubrication. The gearbox outputs at about 150 rpm, which in axle speeds is about a scale 10 miles per hour. The 3-speed gearbox is open and at the rear of the Loco. There is an underdrive to achieve 5 miles per hour, a 1-to-1 drive for 10, and an overdrive for 15. All gears are constantly in mesh and are engaged with the driveshafts by sliding dog clutches. Shifting gears or engaging forward and reverse is not very easy and needs a bit of pushing to get the dogs to engage. I initially had the shift levers out of the back of the chassis with a shift gate plate. Perhaps I should have retained this. Throughout the chassis development I retained the original side plates. Eventually I found it was 10 mm too short at the front, so I made extension pieces. The side plates are made from 1.6 mm mild steel and the buffer beams from 1/8 inch. All the extra holes were plugged and soldered over before painting. I don't like to waste anything if I can help it. The fuel tank is made from tinplate from a Christmas cookie tin. The tank is positioned rather low, between the frames, but the engine lifts okay at idle. The tank is only about 40 ml, but there's enough fuel for over 20 minutes of running. The tank is refilled when running. There's an overflow that I fill up to, discharging between the rails. The fuel is straight methanol, no nitro, so 18% Klotz Benzyl degummed castor oil and 82% methanol. I have recently upgraded to a LiPo glow driver. It is much better. I use magnets on the oil pan to catch any metal from the gears. They seem to be working. Here's my tub full of no longer used parts from the Loco, the worm and worm wheel, spur gears, circular muffler, etc. All the bodywork of the Loco is from 0.6 mm mild steel sheet. It solders very nicely. I lined the interior of the muffler with solder to prevent rust. There is an electrical system in the Loco powering the big NZR front lamp, and the cooling fans. There's an Eneloop battery pack under the bonnet or hood. The batteries last about 1 hour. I can externally power the main fan for cooling with the bonnet off, via a 12 volts plug pack. There's a Loco-mounted 12 volts centrifugal fan pushing air forwards through the engine's cooling fins. There are 2 small axial fans mounted in the bonnet that scavenge hot air from inside the bonnet, expelling it out the front. The lights have dimmers for setting the brightness. A recent revision to the Loco has been the addition of a speed wheel in the cab, like on a British narrowboat. During previous runs I had experienced stalling when engaging the clutch. Now with the speed wheel, the engine can be revved up a bit, clutch engaged, then the revs lowered right down. The wheel turns a 10 BA screw thread, so one turn of the wheel opens the throttle very little. Check out my live diesel playlist to see and hear the Loco running in all its various iterations. Now sit back and watch all the slides of the build in order. And remember, when it comes to garden railways, live diesel is the new coal firing. Demand live diesel from your favorite manufacturer.